Good morning. Thanks for joining me once again for devotions. We're continuing to read from Matthew chapter 13, these parables of Jesus. You'll notice that in Matthew, the parables seem to be concentrated in different areas. That's because Matthew divides the gospel into 5 great sections of action followed by teaching. And so this is one of Matthew's so-called great discourses in Matthew chapter 13. So Jesus puts before them another parable. The kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed that someone took and sowed in his field. It is the smallest of all seeds, but when it has grown, it is the greatest of shrubs and becomes a tree, so that the birds of the air come and make nests in its branches. He told them another parable. The kingdom of heaven is like yeast that a woman took and mixed in with 3 measures of flour until all of it was leavened. Jesus told the crowds all these things in parables. Without a parable, he told them nothing. So these 2 parables are about small things making a big difference. And as we know from other tellings of this parable, Jesus is referring to the kingdom of heaven, yes, and the way that God's action in the world makes a big difference, and a little bit of revealing the kingdom of heaven can change everything. Also how our own faith, with just a little bit of that, we can make a big difference in our lives and the lives of people around us. I actually once grew mustard as part of a sermon series on this kind of growth, because Jesus spends a lot of time talking about growth. And what I discovered about mustard is that it does indeed grow from these little tiny seeds that I got at an Indian grocery store. The mustard plant sprouted and it ended up being about 4 feet tall before I finally had to get rid of them because they stunk. And they were spreading their pollen and their seeds everywhere. They made a big difference. I needed to get them out because they were growing in my office at the time. So this parable became real to me. And it became real to me in a different way because I realized that mustard really is kind of a weed. And the kingdom of heaven grows like a weed, which is interesting when you compare this to the parable Jesus just told about the weeds and the wheat. But it also tells us that the kingdom of heaven might grow in ways that we don't expect or don't even like. And we need to be ready because God's going to make a difference in this world. God's going to use us. God's going to change things. And we might call it weeds, but God knows what's really going on. So let's keep open minds and open hearts so that whether we're planting weeds or baking bread, we're ready to do the work that God is calling us to do. Would you join me in prayer? God, you who offer us a more excellent way of life and instruct us in how to live it, by your Spirit, we will this day learn and live in response to you. Amen. Have a blessed day.